Hey guys, I'm Megs, an often overcaffeinated, adequately tattooed, straight talking host, therapist, copywriter, and coach on a mission to conquer the crazy that is small business ownership. Join me every week for a rousing combination of lessons learned and gold nuggets uncovered on my own self employed journey, as well as interviews with other kick ass creative leaders and how to pointers for those business owners that want to improve their own professional copywriting skills, since words are kind of my jam. So sit back, grab a healthy serving of your favorite go go juice, and join me for Caffeinate and Conquer, the podcast. If you haven't noticed by now, I tend to have a fairly colorful vocabulary, and it's not something that I'll ever apologize for. However, I do believe it's appropriate that I warn you in advance that this episode may have more than your usual number of expletives given the subject at hand. So, if you're spending the next 20 to 30 minutes with your children, teaching them business lessons, maybe skip through this podcast and come back when it's adults only. I was recently chatting with a good friend about our love for the stronger words in life and how the assumption used to be that if someone cursed a lot, it was because they were ignorant or uneducated and couldn't think of any other words to use. We, however, have agreed that while we both know plenty of other words and are quite well educated, we do choose to use the words we do because sometimes the situation just calls for a good screamed fuck. If you're a self-improvement addicted bookworm like myself, I'm sure you're familiar with the countless books making the rounds in book clubs around the world, spotlighting the F word on their cover. I've heard critics debate on if this uptick in the F word is a desperate attempt to garner attention, appear hip and cool for the shock factor, or to make an actual statement. Personally, I think it's interesting. The authors that are choosing to take back the power of a word that for so long has been seen as something dirty and bad, when really words only have the power we give them. At least that's my opinion. Now, a few of the F-word laden titles I've personally enjoyed are The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck by Sarah Knight, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, and Unfuck Yourself by Gary John Bishop. While each of these authors has a slightly different approach and area of focus when it comes to using the F word, one thing they all have in common is the importance of intentionally deciding what things and people you choose to give a fuck about. As someone who spent far too much of her life giving far too many fucks about everyone and everything around her, trust me, learning how to ration your fucks is life-changing and nearly as important as having a positive and intentional mindset. So today's lesson is going to be all about how to quasi-politely, or without offending too many people that matter, ration your fucks. To start, let's agree on some basics. First, everyone gives a fuck about something. There's no one alive that's completely indifferent to everything and devoid of all fucks. And while some people attempt to hide their feelings and fucks behind a facade, the folks who try to play it off that they give no fucks about anything are often the folks that give the most fucks about the most worthless things. To quote Joe Rogan, "In pretending I don't give a fuck, I say I don't give a fuck. And by putting that out there, I'm making a conscious decision to not give a fuck. But in doing so, I'm now giving a fuck about not giving a fuck. Which means, in the end, I'm giving a fuck." What's important to realize is that those folks who we assume don't give any fucks because we disagree with their choices, they're just giving a fuck about different things than we are. Take, for example, a serial killer. From all outward appearances, it might be easy for someone quasi-normal, such as myself, to make the assumption that a serial killer gives no fucks. Because, they kill people and they're basically a bad person. But in reality, maybe they give a ton of fucks about homeless kittens, sourdough starters, and DIY suits made of skin. The point being, their fucks are just different than mine. Maybe serial killers weren't the best example. Another basic we need to agree on is that it is important to give a fuck sometimes. I mean, if you don't give a fuck about your business, it isn't going to last. If you don't give a fuck about your friends or your partner, you'll pretty quickly find yourself with a lot more quiet time. So what I'm saying is that it's important to give fucks, but it's equally important that you decide what it is you want to give fucks about, as well as realizing that those are not the same fucks that other people are going to be focused on. It's kind of like opinions and assholes. We've all got them, and we need to accept that ours are going to be different from other people's. But it's not always necessary to fling your fucks, your opinions, or your asshole around like streamers in a small town parade. This is where the issue lies. Too many of us spend far too much time and energy focusing on the fucks that are being given by other people. Things that are completely out of our control and really, in most cases, none of our damn business. But by spending so much of our own lives worried about the fucks being given by our neighbors, we're losing out on the opportunity to make a real difference in the important things that we personally give a really big fuck about. By focusing on those around us and giving too many fucks about what other people think of us, we are greatly diminishing the power we have as an individual to make a difference in the world, to lean into and live the amazing lives we're destined for. We second guess ourselves, we hesitate, we back away from opportunities and hide from adventure. When in reality, if we're all being completely honest with ourselves, no one else is thinking or talking about us. They're too busy giving a fuck about themselves and what other people are thinking of them. It's a big, all nasty, fuck-giving cycle. So, now that we've got all that out of the way, how do you go about rationing your fucks? Great question. To start, you've got to figure out what's really important to you, like big, huge, non-negotiables. What things matter to you today and will continue to matter to you a month from now, a year from now, a decade from now? You get the idea. Once you know what's important to you personally, you need to take an even closer look and confirm that these things, people, places, they're really important to you. Or do you see them as important because someone else has told you they should be? This can happen with friends, family, your spouse, life partner, the media, the government, your dog. I'm not ashamed to admit that I have wasted years stressing about things, giving my fucks to things that now, looking back, I realize I never gave an actual flying fuck about. Like none. But because they were such a high priority, or a major concern for someone else in my life, someone that influenced me either positively or negatively, I was funneling my own fucks into the cause because I wasn't strong enough. I hadn't taken the time to step back and to realize that our fucks are limited and we shouldn't waste them. Now, 2020 has been a big year for me. It's been a year of growth and self-discovery, a year of cutting ties with commitments and obligations that no longer served me, or to be brutally honest, have never actually served me at all. It's been a year of reassessing how I ration my fucks, and a year of leaning into my purpose with passion and turning it into a profession. Yes, I'm aware 2020 has also been a year that will forever be referred to as a flaming shitstorm in the history books. But really, if we want to be honest and not simply give in, give up, and count the entire year as a waste, like so many people are, our lives are what we make of them. Two of my favorite quotes are from the late Carnegie Mellon professor Randy Pausch. We cannot change the cards we're dealt, just how we play the hand. And experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted. Experience is often the most valuable thing you have to offer. If we can take anything from this year, let it be that our fucks, our time, our energy, our focus, they're ours. They're ours to use, to squander, to pursue, to fling around like fucking confetti. No one else can give your fucks for you. That's all you, boo. So give your fucks wisely. And as cheesy as it sounds, keep your eye on the prize. Anytime I find myself getting overwhelmed, annoyed, or unnecessarily worked up about something, I take a step back. Most of the time it's metaphorically, but sometimes it's physically, like leaving the room, hopping in the car, and getting lost in the woods for a bit, so that I can reassess. This thing, this fuck that's bothering me so much right now in this moment, is it something that matters in the grand scheme of things? Does it have any connection or impact on the things that matter to me most? Those big, hairy, scary, impossible intentions that I'm in the process of manifesting. Chances are the answer is no. And then the solution is simple. In the memorable words of T. Swift, shake it off. If you're thinking, yeah, all right, I need to do some work on my fucks, but you aren't quite sure where to start, I've actually put together a course that'll lead you through step by step how to uncover and clarify your own personal fucks, how to set intentions and begin the process of manifesting those dreams into reality, no matter how big, hairy, scary, or impossible they are. I'll be releasing this course, as well as a few others, over the Black Friday weekend at a seriously discounted rate, in hopes of helping as many of my fellow badass, savage female entrepreneurs as possible to end 2020 with a bang and make 2021 their bitch. So drop me an email at megs@megsrights.com or message me via Instagram at Caffeinate and Conquer Podcast, and I'll get you all the details. What are you waiting for? Let's do this. Email us at megs@megsrights.com with any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. Who knows? You may hear your question discussed in a future episode. You can also follow us for additional updates, puppy pics, and food porn on Instagram at Caffeinate and Conquer Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the fun, and spread the word to your fellow badass caffeinated friends. The more the merrier. As always, thanks for listening, make good life choices, and see you next week.